Okay, so this is for class 701, 706. Here's your video. So 1 and 2, well, I'll start with 1 and 2. So here is 1. Actually, I like this because it tells you, what do you call, to draw the picture, so which is always something that you should do. So a Ferris wheel, and there's a Ferris wheel, has a shadow of 20 meters. So there's a shadow here of 20 meters. And there's a guy, a man. You know what? I'm not going to draw it. I'm just going to draw a stick. A man who's 1.8 meters tall. His height is 1.8, and his shadow is a little bit longer, 2.4. So we want the height of the Ferris wheel. So we're looking for this x, the height, right? So I'm just going like that. The height of that Ferris wheel. We set up the proportion. We can call this the man, and we can call this the Ferris wheel. So the man is 1.8 meters tall, and his shadow is 2.4. So on the right side, 2.4, the shadow has to match up with the shadow of the other figure, and the other shadow is 20. And the height matches with the height of the man, and that we'll call x. When we cross multiply, I need to get a calculator. When you all cross multiply, so when we cross multiply, we're going to get 2.4x. All right, so that's your proportion. Sorry, that's the proportion. So if I cross multiply, I get 2.4x, and 1.8 times 20, we got 36. And we're gonna divide both sides by 2.4. Divide by 2.4, and I have no idea. We get the solution 15. So 15 is the height of the Ferris wheel. Okay. 2, it's a flagpole, and again, I think we did this in class, but just in case, we got 2 items here: a flagpole. Okay, there's a flagpole, and there's the shadow, which is 28 feet. We don't know the height, so I'm going to call this y. And the height of the person, he has a shadow, so there's a person here, and he has a shadow that's 8 feet long, and that person is 6 feet, so I'm going to call this shadow. And this is the height of the person. So we're going to set up a proportion. So I'm going to call man and flagpole. So the man is 6 feet tall, and his shadow is 8. I'm going to write S for shadow and height, 6 for height. The height of the flagpole is y, right? And the shadow is 28. So again, notice that the shadow matches, and the height matches. So when we cross multiply, 8 times y is 8y, and 6 times 28 is 168. We're going to divide that by 8, and we're going to get 20 something, 21, and divide by 8, we get 21. So the height of the flagpole is 21. So before you left today, or some of you, we drew this triangle over here, and we had 2 triangles, E, F, G, and the other triangle is QRS. They're both similar. And we know that the length of the sides are 144, so let's just write 144, 128, and 112. The length of the smallest side of QRS is 280, so the smallest side is this side on the big triangle, so on the small, on the small triangle. And on the big side, the corresponding side would be this, right? The small here, it means the small here, which means that this is 280. What's the length of the longest side of QRS? We're looking for this. So the 2 measurements we want to look at is this and this, right? And this, or this, or even you can use the one. No, actually, these are the 2. So let's set up our proportion. So on the big triangle, which is our first triangle here, actually let's use a small. Let's use this triangle over here. Okay, let's do this one first. So on this one, we get x over 280. So this x corresponds to the 144 on the other triangle, and the 280, which is this one, right, the base here, corresponds to 112. Cross multiply, and we're going to get 112x equals 280 times 144, and that's going to give us 40,320. We're going to divide this by 112, divide this by 112, and x equals 360. So The missing side, this side right here, is 360. Okay. Very repetitive, no? So we have a statue that's 10 feet tall, so 10 feet tall, and it has a shadow that's 15 feet long. So its shadow is longer. And there is a bird, bird bath. Okay, so it's a little statue. A bird bath is one of those things that's like, it looks like a bowl and birds come and drink out of it. So the shadow of, find the length of the shadow that, so the 4 foot bird bath, it's 4 feet, and we don't know the shadow, so the shadow we'll call it y. Okay, so that's the height. So our proportion, and let's use the big one first, big and then small. And the big one, the 10 to 15, right? The 10 is the height over 15. And the small, the 10 corresponds to the 4, and the 15 corresponds to the y. Cross multiply, we're going to get, well, 4 times 50 is 60. Y times 10 is 10y. Divide both sides by 10, and y equals 6. So the height of our, the length of the shadow, the shadow of the bird bath is 6 feet. 5, Horatio is 6 feet tall. Horatio is a guy, he's 6 feet, there's no a guy. And his shadow is 3 feet, so again, 3 feet. And then there's a tower that is, the shadow is 25 feet, but the height of that tower is what we don't know, so we'll call that x. We can set up a proportion, so let's call this Horatio, and let's call this the tower. Horatio, it's 363 or 3 to 6, whichever you want. So the height of him, this 6 here, corresponds to this, the height of the tower. And his shadow, which is 3, corresponds to the shadow of the tower, which is 25. So there's our proportion. Cross multiply is 3x equals 150. Divide this by 3, divide this by 3, and x is going to be 50. So the height of the tower is 50 feet. 6, a flagpole again. So flagpole, so there's a flag, the flagpole, and the shadow of the flagpole is 20 foot. Then we have Umberto, who is 6 feet, and his shadow is 5 feet, right? So there's, what's the height of the flagpole? So we'll call this x. So again, let's call this Umberto, and let's call this the flagpole. So Umberto is 6 feet tall, and his shadow is 5. So the 6 matches with the height of the flagpole, which we don't know, and the 5, which is his shadow, matches the 20, right? Which is the shadow of the flagpole. Cross multiply, 5x equals 120. Divide by 5, divide by 5, x equals, no idea, 24. So the height of the flagpole is 24 feet. 7. Oh, and you have the answers. I forgot. You have the answers over here. In which you have to put a letter. Oh, well, you'll figure out. Although I don't remember all these decimals. Let me just pause this for a second. And then on this one, it's the last one. We have Old Faithful Yellowstone National Park. Okay, so 60 feet in the air. So it's a, I don't know what you call it, but it shoots water from the bottom, from the ground up. It's pretty nice show to watch. Never seen it live, but on YouTube it looks pretty cool. So it shoots up 60 feet of water into the air. And casts a shadow that's 42. Okay, so this is the Old Faithful. And there's a tree here that has a shadow of 63 feet long, and we want to know the height of that tree, and we'll call that x. Let's call this the Old Faithful, and let's call this tree. So the Old Faithful, I know that the height's 60 and the shadow is 42. And on the tree, what's the height of the tree? Because it has to match, right? So the 60, this side corresponds to this, which is x. And this is 42, which is a shadow, which corresponds to 63 here. Cross multiply. 42x equals 60 times 63. And that's going to give us 3,780. We're going to divide this by 42, divide this by 42, and x equals, no, I don't know. 3,780 divided by 42 equals 90. So the height of the tree is 90 feet. So big, tall tree. That's it. And like I said, it's almost the same as the similar figures, but the only difference is that very helpful if you draw out your question so that you can view it and match the corresponding sides easier. Okay, that's it.